as of now, it's past 1 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast, meaning it's officially Chevy Monte Carlo 400 race day at the Richmond International Raceway. La reina de la noche, la diosa de voodoo. But before we jump into that fun stuff, I have to acknowledge a very important message that I promised y'all earlier today, but better late than never. So, 20 years ago today, the September 11 terrorist attacks happened, which changed not only America, but changed everybody's lives forever, even mine. And in this video, I'm going to recap to you where I was and what was going on in my life up to that point, you know, and how I, handled it very, very well, whether it was immediately or long afterwards. Okay, so it was August 2001, first events in my history, right before that horrible tragedy. I came up to Ohio to visit family. You know, I'm from Michigan. When I lived in Lenore House in Redford, the first tenure, we came up to Ohio to visit family because they were throwing us a goodbye party with the Oliverises, my dad's side of the family, because the fact that they knew we were going out of the country, we were not going to be back for a whole season. So we went to the goodbye party, and my last race was the 2001 Global Crossing at the Glen, won by Jeff Gordon over Jeff Burton, when Elliott Sadler limped across the finish line with a broken rear axle. Dale Jarrett spun in the gravel trap in turn 1 twice after sitting on the pole. Robbie Gordon, filling in for an injured Mike Skinner, had a shot at an underdog win, but the most bizarre caution happened. Most bizarre thing happened. It was not the car that broke, it was the NBC onboard camera that ended up catching fire, taking him out of contention. But we're going to save that conversation for another day. That was the last race I could ever watch live for a while, until 2002, early 2002 Mexico, when they showed the live broadcast on Speed. So therefore, I did not get the original Fox, FX, NBC, TNT broadcast down there. I didn't have any Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, considering that, you know, even during the 2000-2001 season, I wasn't watching much of it anyway, after I made the move from West 122nd in Ohio to Lenore in Michigan. So, therefore, in other words, I missed out on, Season 18 of Jeopardy and Season 19 of Wheel of Fortune because of Mexico. So, only thing I had down there is Legends of the Hidden Temple every Monday through Friday at 5:30 in the afternoon on Nickelodeon Latino America, aka Mundo Net, and the gas block called Garra, Acción y Sudor, which is what inspired me to create that series on my YouTube channel. A conversation I'm saving for another day. So now we fast forward past, you know, the last moments in America stuff for me. I was in Mexico City at the time. My dad had a project for his job that transferred us from Michigan to Mexico, which originally in another universe would have been from Ohio to Maryland to China. So therefore, as you all know, the many stories I've told, that was, you know, I'm glad that it turned out from Ohio to Michigan to Mexico, because if it went the other way, no NASCAR. For me, no NASCAR, no smooth jazz. Most important of all, my time as my fandom of Legends of the Hidden Temple doesn't change the way it did. So, yeah, and I probably wouldn't have even got it either way, so yeah. But, you know, I was in Mexico City already, because, you know, since my dad, you know, was just my dad's project, which his, at the time, current job, Johnson Controls Incorporated, was a big thing. It was a big thing. He didn't want to leave my mom, sister, and I hanging, so he took us with him. So we're already waiting, we're in Mexico waiting for him after the August part ended. Come September, we were settled in. I was all set like Jimmy Johnson. My sister was getting used to the place. My mom was finishing, you know, setting up the house and everything. My dad was on an airplane, you know, traveling with his job before he eventually touched down with us in Mexico City, you know, to start that little project down there. Apparently, while we were in Mexico City, that's when the terrorist attacks happened. But because we didn't get much, you know, American news coverage of it down there, comparing out of the country, my dad was the only one who heard about it. I was 7 years old, about to be 8, going into the 2002 Daytona 500 and my 8th birthday party for that race. I didn't understand it. I did not understand it. I remember my dad telling me something about it. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I didn't understand it at all because, you know, I didn't see it on TV because we didn't get those channels down there in Mexico. So I just moved on with my life. I spent a whole season down there, like, changing my fandom of Legends of the Hidden Temple forever. You know, paying tribute to Dale Sr. In NASCAR 2001, where it's 2000 in the game. Considering that in real life, in 2001 as a whole, I was just getting into NASCAR, getting over, like, my favorite driver being killed in the season opening Daytona 500, and my favorite basketball team, the San Antonio Spurs, with Tim Duncan as the only young player there. That you want to say, those Spurs teams from the early to mid 2010s were old as fuck. Well, that 2001 team was older than dirt. You know, we had Avery Johnson and Sean Elliott declining. Duncan was the only, like, up-and-coming superstar we had. Robinson was getting up there in age. Danny Ferry was getting up there in age. Try to think. Derek Anderson was our only young shot, but he got hurt from a dirty flagrant foul from Juwan Howard in the second round versus Dallas. I think it was in the Mavericks arena. I don't know if they're playing American Airlines at the time, but who knows. But, you know, we had a lot of old players that, you know, considering how far we got in the playoffs, and even if DA never got hurt, there was no chance we were beating the Lakers even fully healthy. So, yeah, Lakers won another whole level. So, I was trying to get over that heartbreaker in, you know, Memorial Day weekend, the same day as the 2001 Coke 600. So, I was trying to gather my thought process as I, got ready for the move to Mexico. Like, did all the events leading up to Mexico. So, I didn't understand what my dad was telling me about 9/11. So, I moved on with my Mexico life, watching Las Leyendas del Templo, Cara Acción Isler 5:30, and Monday through Friday. And, you know, even while I was there, I had that dream that basically changed my Legends fandom forever. Where we had Olmec's birthday on the season 3 set as a season 2 reunion, you know. So, a lot of that's all that jazz. So, we lived the whole time in Mexico. Didn't really know about 9/11 at the time. I really didn't know much about it. I remember hearing slightly about it, but never understanding it. But by the time we came back to America in June 2002, after the Sirius Satellite Radio 400, the last MIS race that did have us there ever, but until August of that year, then, that's when I learned more about it. Like, wow, my dad wasn't fooling around when he said that something bad happened in New York City, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. while he was on that plane. Luckily, he came out of that alive. He was nowhere near those attacks. He was on a totally different plane on the other side of the country, of America. So, when I started learning more and more about it as time went on, but then I learned more full details about this tragedy when NASCAR came to Richmond for this exact same race, the Chevy Monte Carlo 400 with when they had the Looney Tunes team in 2002, when NASCAR did like an hour too long of a pre-race show paying tribute to those who lost their lives on that tragic day, which was like 1 year prior at that time. And so every year, since 2002, since that Monte Carlo 400 where Kenseth won, and it was the beginning of the end of Sterling Marlin's career as a championship contender, and, you know, in his prime as a Winston Cup driver, I always think about this tragedy every year on September 11th, even if it's long gone in the rearview mirror and it's like, you know, not a big headline, all that like it used to be. You know, it's still a big headline every year at 9/11, but when it comes to all year round, it's not as big, you know, any other time of the year. But I always think about that tragic day every year at 9/11, 2002 up to now. And, you know, we have the guy in the Army who you see in my YouTube videos in my neighborhood, Justin Rogerson. You know, when we're just being silly and joking around, we call him the Jerry Springer man. And I know he and his, like, former Army mate, before he moved on, Juan DiGaldo. It was more Juan than Justin more than anything, who offered me a spot in the Army. And as polite as I was, you know, like, thanking them for the offer, I politely declined by saying, like, you know, hey, I would join the military, but the thing is, I'm scared of death, so if I didn't fear death, of course I would. You know, I learned, you know, Alex Trebek was a gutsy man, you know, saying that if he were to die, he wouldn't be scared. I don't think I could ever do that, so therefore, that's why I decided I'll never join the military. As much as I respect and love it, it's something I'll never do. because I would hate for my mom and my dad and my grandparents to have to bury me before I have to bury them. And so therefore, my heart goes out to the families of those killed that day, for those who never got to see them again after 10 o'clock in the morning that day. And it doesn't, like, you know, my cousin Daniel Grajowski, GM said, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where, like, you know, if you weren't born at the time, you know, or just shitting in your diapers, or it doesn't matter, like, if too young to remember, like, that, you could be a newbie that's not, like this year is not familiar with it at all. And, you know, it's going to change your life forever, no matter if you're 27 like me or you're 7. It doesn't matter. In 2021, if you're 27 or 7, it's going to change your life forever. And you know, that's why it's pays to learn stuff from back before your time, of all, you know, regardless of what generation it is. So therefore, everybody's lives change forever, whether they were too young to remember it, or not alive, or like or whether you were too young to remember it, or you were not alive, or, you know, we're not there. So yeah, it doesn't matter, you were not there. And you know, wherever you were, at least everybody shares that deep thought, you know, America changed forever along with everybody else, even if they're not, even the ones who are not in the military, like me and most of people I know in real life. So, and this goes out to, like, remind you, always, like, hug your loved ones and tell them you love them, because tomorrow is never promised. Considering that a couple weekends ago, during Firecracker Weekend, my father and I almost got into a big wreck. And, you know, I made him cry in front of me for the very first time. In 27 years, I never seen him cry. I know he did when his mom died, my abuela, but in the Lenore house he did. But I didn't see it because I was still sleeping in bed at 6 o'clock in the morning after they woke me to tell her she died. So therefore, I just went back to sleep. But the reason why I made him cry in the car that day after that near accident is because you know, that car that almost hit us actually was going to hit the side I was on, so I would have been the dead one. And the reason why my dad started crying in the car, because I was just started telling him, if I ever die one day, I want my last word to be only one word: whoa. Because I want to go out in style, and like in the form of Crash Bandicoot, and that's how I want everybody to remember me when I die. So I mean, it's part of life. We all gotta die someday. But when my day comes, I want my last word to be whoa, and everybody remember me, you know, in the style of Crash Bandicoot. So I look forward to the Chevy Monte Carlo 400 later on tonight, honoring the men and women of our military and the tragic, those ones we lost 20 years ago today. And hopefully, if I'm able to wake up in time a few hours from now, I will also be able to watch the NASCAR Busch Series Fuel Night 250 at Richmond earlier in the day. So have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. God bless America. # never forget. We'll never forget. No, we'll never forget.